All right, Ted Nguyen is with us, and he breaks down the film. I love having the film breakdowns because there's not that many guys that can do it well. Ted, thank you for joining us. Appreciate you taking the time.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
You know, obviously, the Browns, for the millionth time, are looking for a quarterback. You thought they finally saw, or I thought they finally solved that problem with Deshaun Watson, but obviously that's not been the case. He's been a disaster. So we're all looking at these quarterbacks and trying to decide, you know, is there a quarterback or two in this draft that's going to be the next, say, tier 1 or tier 2 quarterback, top 10 guy, something like that? Do you believe Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, or any of these other quarterbacks, when you watch the film, strikes you as a guy that can be in that upper tier? Maybe not necessarily in the Mahomes, Burrow, Lamar, Allen tier, but even in that second tier, which is probably good enough to win a Super Bowl. Is there anybody in this draft that you think is capable of reaching that height?
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think Cam Ward is clearly a quarterback that has separated himself in this process, and I think he's a quarterback that has that potential to reach maybe not that top tier of Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, but I think he could be a special playmaker in this class, a guy that could throw from many different arm angles, platforms. He could play make. He can make a bunch of special throws. He has arm talent, athleticism, and you know the more and more I watch, I just don't think Shedeur Sanders is a guy that I would take in the first round. I just did an article on him where I broke down all his games, watching him pretty closely, and he's just a quarterback that doesn't have any elite traits. He's not especially athletic. His arm talent just isn't there. I was surprised to see how weak his arm was, and his special powers are supposed to be his ability to process, and he's very accurate. He could play from within the pocket, but I just don't see that being elite in those areas too. So to me, he's just not maybe he could be a late first round pick, but to pick him in the top 10, I just don't think the talent is there.
I read that article you wrote, Ted, yesterday. It came out on The Athletic. Highly recommend everyone take a look at it. And basically the conclusion I got from reading the article was, in your opinion, his anticipation, Shedeur's, has to be so good to make up for the lack of elite arm. And you put in there, I think there was 10 different video clips in the article kind of detailing what Shedeur does well, what he doesn't. So my question is, can you just expand on the anticipation part of it and why it has to be so good for Shedeur on the next level to be able to succeed? And are there quarterbacks in the NFL now that succeed with that level of arm talent, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, when you don't have the arm to zip those balls into tight windows and throw with a ton of pace, especially when you're a quarterback that needs to attack the middle of the field, you have to throw with anticipation. You have to throw early before those windows open up. And there are some examples of him doing it, but he's also inconsistent. He also can't hold on to the ball. So I think, when you in the league, when you need to throw with so much anticipation, Tua is a good example of a quarterback that does this. He'll throw he'll throw 3 or 4 steps before a receiver breaks on the ball. But I just don't see that high level of anticipation from Shedeur consistently. So I just don't think he has the arm to consistently hit those tight window throws that you need to in the NFL.
So with that being said, would you say that Shedeur is the second best quarterback in this draft? And what is your thoughts on, what is it, Tyler Shock, whatever? What is your thoughts on him? Because I see he's getting a lot of publicity as of late.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it just depends on where you get Shedeur. I mean, I think if you could get him late in the first round or in the second round, he'd be worth it. But I just think that reaching for him early on in a draft, like in a top 10, I think you would lose an opportunity to get like a real blue chip prospect like Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter. I think it depends on where you get him. As far as Tyler Shown goes, I think he does have some talent as far as arm talent, and he's pretty mobile for a guy his size. I mean, obviously the age concerns are there, and the fact that he just hasn't played that many games at his age is a concern as well because of injuries. And as we know, this league is not a developmental league. It's hard to get that experience that you need when you don't have that under your belt.
Ted, I think I said yesterday that if the Browns believe as you do, and I know some others have said that Cam Ward is clearly the top quarterback, that if the Titans don't believe that and they're going to trade out of that one spot, if I were the Browns, I'd trade up. I know it's unusual to trade from 2 to 1, but I'm not going to sit there when you need a quarterback and just hope that either the Titans pick somebody else or whatever, because you could see there's already been rumors about the Giants, whatever. Do you think it makes sense if the Browns believe in Cam Ward as you do for them to try to get up to that one spot?
I totally think it makes sense. I think because that spot is probably going to be up for grabs if they're going to decide to trade it. There's going to be another team that wants to come up and get Cam Ward. And to me, I think there's a big enough gap between Ward and Sanders or whoever you think is the next quarterback that I think it'd be worth it to go up and get that pick. And for the Browns, it'd probably be a little cheaper than for most teams because the Titans will only drop one spot. So I do think it's worth it to go up and get your guy if you do believe in Cam Ward.
Ted, in non-quarterback news for the Browns, their best player has publicly requested a trade. He's gone on every podcast and show in America, telling the world that he does not want to play for the Cleveland Browns next year. If you were Andrew Berry and you were running the Cleveland Browns, how would you handle this Myles Garrett situation as we get ready to head into the rest of the offseason?
Yeah, I mean, I would probably handle it just like he's handling it and refuse to trade him. I mean, you just don't trade away a talent like Myles Garrett. I mean, he's the best player in the league. I covered the Raiders when they traded away Khalil Mack, and they just never really recovered from that. Great pass rushers are hard to find, and Myles Garrett is a special one. So, I don't know if – I know he's pretty adamant about wanting to get traded, but – I think, maybe if you go and get a Cam Ward and you go and make some noticeable improvements on his team, I mean, at the end of the day, he seems like he just wants to win. So if you could make him believe that this team is on a track to win, then maybe you could get him back. But you do have leverage and you do have some controls. So I would try to keep him.
Do you think the Browns are making the right decision by letting Nick Chubb walk?
I think that's tough. I think they have more knowledge of his medicals and whether they think that he could be that top flight back again. But I mean, I also don't know what his contract demands are, or if he wants more money or whatever it is. But for me, a running back coming off a major injury is tough to really try to keep or invest in.
Ted, I know you recently wrote about Chip Kelly, who, of course, was here in Ohio with the Buckeyes, and now he comes back to the NFL. Are you give us a little synopsis of what you wrote about him and your expectations for him with the Raiders?
Yeah, with Chip Kelly, I was a little bit pessimistic about his hire in Las Vegas just because I studied him pretty close when he was with the Eagles, and a lot of his offense just depended on tempo, trying to run a ton of plays, and kind of confuse the defense. And for a while it worked. It really caught the league by storm. Defenses didn't know how to line up against it. They had to get into really simple looks, and they kind of feasted off that. And he even got quarterbacks like Mark Sanchez and Nick Foles to work in his offense. But the better teams that were able to kind of figure out that pace and tempo really figured out his offenses. And some of the counting stats, like total yards and points, doesn't really show a steep decline. But when you look at like EPA per play and things like that, his offense really dropped off in Philadelphia, and then it totally fell off a cliff in San Francisco when he didn't really have the talent to work with. But watching his offenses at UCLA and at Ohio State, he really made a concerted effort to change his style of offense. And I thought he did a really good job of layering plays and just getting into a variety of different personnel sets. And I think he's really ready for his next pro chance, and I'm excited to see what he does in Las Vegas.
Ted, we are in the minutia here in Cleveland when it comes to the Browns. We talk about them every day, and sometimes maybe we're too close to the situation to get an appropriate evaluation of something. So I'm curious, from your standpoint, as someone who covers the league and does a great job breaking down, if you guys don't follow Ted on Twitter, highly recommend it. He does a great job breaking down film from all 32 teams. When you look at the Deshaun Watson experiment in Cleveland, specifically this season before he got injured, were the Browns' downfalls on offense, in your opinion, more on the quarterback not being able to execute or the coaching staff not putting him in a situation to succeed?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? I broke up a little bit there.
Were the Browns' downfalls on offense more a result of Deshaun not being able to execute or the coaching staff not putting him in a situation to succeed? How do you kind of parse up the blame there?
I have a pretty high opinion about Kevin Stefanski and what he does on offense. So, I think based on what we've seen from Jameis Winston and how he was kind of able to inject some life into the offense. I know turnovers were always a problem, and he's an inconsistent quarterback, but just him being able to get the offense to move, I think it was more on Deshaun Watson. I think there definitely were opportunities downfield for him to hit. Deshaun Watson just never seemed to look like himself after coming back or whenever he played for the Browns. So to me, I would put the blame more on Watson. I think, I believe Stefanski, is he taking over play calling again this year?
Yeah, he's going to be calling plays, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a good offensive coach. I think if they get a quarterback in there, that offense is going to be able to move the ball. I would definitely put the blame more on Watson based on what I've seen.
Ted, we appreciate the time. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.
You got it. Ted Nguyen from The Athletic. Ted, the latest guy. You look at Ted, who's a film guru.
Really good job breaking down film on Twitter.
You look at Greg Cosell, film guru. The consensus, and again, sometimes I get worried that there's a lot of groupthink, but these are two guys that are just breaking down the film, that Cam Ward is head and shoulders above the rest. Mm-hmm. I said this yesterday. I'll say it again. Cam Ward is going first in this draft.
Yes.
That is happening. I'll be stunned if anything else happens. By the way, I saw that he's now minus 265 to go first. Not that that necessarily means anything.
It's actually pretty good odds if you still want to make a little money.
Yeah.
Before it gets to minus 500.
If the Browns believe, like Ted Nguyen does, like Greg Cosell does, that it's not a two-horse race at quarterback, that it's Cam Ward and then a big drop to everybody else,
can I add one
then
more
they absolutely have to go up and get him at one.
I filmed 75% of our quarterback prospect breakdowns with Sean King yesterday.
Yeah.
We're doing the last part today.
Yeah.
He says it's a gigantic gap between Cam Ward and everyone else.
Even Sean King, who we thought hated every quarterback besides Jameis Winston, says big drop. So our guy Sean King, if you want to go, Greg Cosell and Sean King, a former NFL quarterback. To me, guys, this is a no-brainer. And if you're the Tennessee Titans, it's also, if you don't believe, for whatever reason, they don't believe in Cam Ward. I know there's some fans that are going to be like, well, Tennessee doesn't think he's that good, so why should we take him? Well, and maybe Tennessee's right.
Tennessee's probably feeling like, we got a lot of stuff to fix if we could accumulate more picks.
Yeah, but
and
that's not it.
But
they don't. If they thought Cam Ward was the guy, they would take him. They don't believe that if they're going to trade out.
Yeah, and it's a new GM in a different
I don't care how many
situation.
needs you have. You don't pass on the quarterback.
A lot of things that I've heard and seen was that they feel that Tennessee is not taking a quarterback.
Okay, well, if that's the case, then they're going to trade. And if you're the
That's
Titans,
what I said.
even though you'll get a little less from the Browns than the Giants, if you're the Titans, if you trade with the Browns, you're guaranteed to get your first choice.
Yeah.
Because you know that the Browns are trading up to get Cam Ward. So whoever it is, whether it's Hunter or if you trade with the Giants and the Giants take Cam Ward, well, the Browns could end up taking your guy.
Yep.
I know there's this assumption that maybe the Browns take Sanders. What if they don't? What if they take what if the Titans are like, we'll go to 3 and get Travis Hunter? And then the Browns take Travis Hunter.
Well,
Yeah.
if that's the case, if they don't feel high on Cam Ward or they feel like Will Levis is the guy,
There's no chance they feel that.
There's no chance. You're right. There's no chance. It is a brand new GM.
Yeah, there's no chance.
He has no ties to any of the quarterbacks.
well, if that's the
on roster.
case, then they taking Cam Ward. I'm not moving.
Well, they should.
I wouldn't trade
Yeah.
nothing. I'm
Right.
taking Cam Ward.
You're right.
Because they're
But
literally in the same boat as the Browns,
Right,
where
but
we
for
don't have a
whatever
quarterback, we
reason,
ain't got a chance.
If their talent evaluators don't believe in Cam Ward like others do,
There's no way that they can feel that way.
why is that? Not everybody feels the same way about a quarterback. What are you talking about?
There are some teams that are going to have Shedeur Sanders as the number one quarterback in this draft.
That don't have Shedeur Sanders as what?
No, I'm saying there will be teams that I can't guarantee, but
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if there's not at least one team in football that has Shedeur Sanders ahead of Cam.
There
Ward.
might be.
Yeah.
Why you think every team thinks Cam Ward is going to be a great quarterback? Then why wouldn't they take
I think
him at
they
one?
would think he's the number one quarterback.
Well, right, but that's fine. They might think he's the best quarterback, but they might not think he's a franchise-changing quarterback.
Oh, well, then that's a totally different thing.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. If they feel like he's good, not
But if I'm
great,
Tennessee, I don't got nothing.
it doesn't. But
What are you trying to argue?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I don't either. I don't either. I'm just saying, like,
here's the
Tennessee
bottom.
should take Cam
Here's the
Ward.
bottom
I
line.
think that's what
I
I'm
agree with
saying.
you. We're in agreement. Tennessee should take Cam Ward. But if Tennessee, for whatever reason,
That's what we
doesn't want to
arguing.
take a quarterback at one, the Browns should absolutely trade up. Because if they don't, somebody else will trade up.
They will.
Tennessee's not going to stay at number one and take a defensive lineman.
I can guarantee.
No
yeah,
chance.
that's a
that
fact.
almost never. How often did defensive linemen go one? It did with Myles Garrett.
Was
It's
Jadavius-
very
It
rare.
happened to Trayvon Walker a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not that
It's three
crazy.
times the last 10 years.
it's still not a lot. Jadeveon Clowney was a bad pick. It was a terrible pick. How good is Walker? I'm not even sure.
He's been average.
Actually, he had a really good
He had
season
good
last
stats.
year.
Jaguars
fine.
fans were thrilled.
He's fine.
He's not Aiden
He's a
Hutchinson.
bad
He
pick.
ain't Aiden Hutchinson, no. But he
went
was
second that
he's a
year.
good
And
player.
most of the time, a quarterback goes one. Cam Ward's going one. The question is, are the Browns going to do what it takes to get him if they believe he's the guy? And they should absolutely trade up to one. Absolutely.
We did that as a topic probably
Yeah.
3-4 weeks ago, and everyone kind of laughed at the idea of it.
No, I
because
said it. I didn't laugh at it.
You weren't on the show that day.
Yeah.
And everyone kind of like, well, there's two guys in this draft.
Yeah.
Like, Shedeur-
No, there's not.
You don't have to trade up. And now,
Potentially.
as we're a month forward, and I say that to say, in a month, on April 5th, 3 weeks out from the draft, the whole narrative on these quarterbacks can change again.
The
We're
real,
gonna see
the
these
real
giant
question
waves.
of this whole thing is, let's say that the Browns say, you know what, we're comfortable. We're comfortable at 2, and they do nothing, and Cam Ward does go first. All right, we're hearing all the stuff that you've been hearing lately. Where are you at with the 2 pick? Are you still Shedeur, or are you get somebody else and then
This is
maybe
what I'll
try
say
to
about
trade
Shedeur.
back up to the first?
people that I trust in this business, again, that's the best I can do because I'm not an expert.
Mm-hmm.
The people that I trust in this business do not believe Shedeur Sanders is a first-round talent.
Okay.
So they probably shouldn't take him there. However, if the Browns talent evaluators truly believe that Shedeur Sanders is a first-round talent and they take him, I will not rip them for it.
Yeah, if they like Shedeur, they have to take him at 2 if
Then
Cam
take
Ward's on the
him.
board. You have
If you think
Hey,
he's...
Right.
the Br-
It don't
if
matter
Kevin
to me.
Stefanski and Andrew Berry are convinced that Shedeur Sanders is an excellent quarterback and that all these other evaluators are wrong, then go for it.
Ain't they all
then I got
at
no
the
problem.
marble room?
Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, and Abdul Carter are here with the Browns today. They're in Cleveland.
Is that right? Or is it, I think it's Abdul, Travis, and Shedeur.
That's what I said.
No,
You
you
said
said
Cam
Cam
Ward.
Ward.
Oh, Shedeur.
Cam
It's the
Ward comes
Colorado,
tomorrow.
Yeah, 2 Colorado guys and Abdul Carter.
Cam
today.
Ward gets to come by himself, huh? Interesting.
Yeah.
That is very interesting. No, they said it was a scheduling conflict. They were supposed to all come together.
Who are they eating with? Jimmy?
I have no idea.
Hopefully everybody. Hopefully anyone
You
who's
think
in
Jimmy's a
I
good
hate
tipper?
to-
There's no chance.
I hate to tell you this, Bull.
Rich
but
people are bad tippers.
I didn't really get the luxury of.
top 30 visit.
Yeah.
No.
I did visit the Lions.
They give you
treat you
cotton
nice.
candy at the Marble Room too.
The Lions did treat you
Cotton
nicely.
candy?
Yeah, you get cotton candy at the Marble Room.
Really?
How
That's a weird
you
thing.
know?
I've been to the Marble Room a
Look
couple
at
times.
you, man. Got a couple
Earl's
dollars.
a high roller.
You
Who
got a
did
couple
this?
dollars now.
When you went to the Lions, what did they take you to? McDonald's?
I don't remember. It's such a long time ago that I don't remember. I
Did
do
they take you out
remember
for dinner?
I remember when we did our workouts. You know, I think the Giants came and worked us out, and they took us to like a steakhouse in Columbus. Well, I don't remember where I went with the Lions.
Yeah. By the way, another former Buckeye retired today. Did you see this?
Oh,
Sam Hubbard.
he retired?
Yeah.
Really?
He had an injury.
Didn't he catch a pass and hurt
Yeah,
himself?
he got hurt.
Sam Hubbard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the DN for the Bengals?
Yeah.
Yes. What other Sam Hubbard would there be?
Get out of here. Sam
announced his
Hubbard
retirement.
ain't no,
Becky-
he,
Becky
no,
texted
he
us about it.
did not.
Yeah. I'm actually glad he did because I wanted the Bengals to move on from him, and
Wait a
he's
minute.
such a key guy in their locker room. I didn't want them to have to cut him.
Oh, he did this long post.
Yeah. They should hire him as a coach. They should put him on coaching
Tight ends
staff.
coach.
Why did he retire?
I think because of injuries.
His body's that banged up.
I think he may not I think the Bengals were going to cut him possibly.
They,
Well, he was
they
gonna be
said
ready
he
for
was
the start
going
of
to
the
get
season.
cut.
And I didn't want. I hated the idea of cutting him, even though he's not that good a player. I don't know, but I like him as a.
Dang,
I don't know. What's next?
that's unfortunate.